Dennis is in the house. Yeah, we got to have some birds chirping once in a while, don't we, Dennis? How are you, buddy? What's going on in your world? I'm trying to get adjusted this morning. Oh, man, I got dry eyes really bad. I'm getting old. My body fluids are drying up. They say that when you get old, you know you're getting old, Jimmy, when your body fluids dry up. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've been told. So I've been told. When you're getting old, your body fluids start to dry up. I don't know if I believe anything I've been told in life. I don't know if I can believe anything anybody says. Birds are chirping, yes, out of the ditch today. Yes, out of the ditch. Oh no, I guess not yet, not yet. John's in the house. Hello, 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 hello. Good to see you. How old are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? You tell me how old you think I am. Jimmy, just put some eye drops in. I do, and I have to put the Pataday. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Pataday is like a thing you put in your eyeballs to help with the dry eyes, the itchy eyes, the allergies. So I do use that once a day, and I use eye drops, but sometimes I don't like how the eye drops feel. So I actually just prefer a nice cold wash rag. Is what I really like on my eyeballs when they feel dry. Everybody say hello to each other. Thank you for the thumbs up. Hello, James is in the house, says hello. Thank you all for being here. So today we're going to continue on our journey of self-discovery and how to make our social media world what we want it to be. That's my goal. It's my morning live streams. Thank you all for being here. We do. I feel like my vision's effed up this morning. David is 16 and a half. Amen, brother. 16 and a half. Going on 14. Right now, it's still fairly nice outside. Got a breeze. Got the ceiling fan going. Got the birds chirping, as Dennis acknowledged. I need to feed my birds. My birds are out of food. And it's going to warm up today. Clear blue skies. We got the hawks circling around the fields looking for easy prey. Keith is in the house. Keith, good to see you. I'm thinking of Keith. How are you doing this morning, Keith? Blessings from Texas, from BP Phillips. Outstanding. We got a lot of good friends down in Texas. I hope you're doing great. I've got a brother that lives in Texas. Not that, you know. Let me message Pat. Pat always doesn't get my notifications, and he likes for me to remind him if I go live. All right, get back pulled up here. Doing good? All right. James, sure, I am here to answer questions. Consider me your internet life coach, and sometimes your social media death coach. I like that. I got that from my good friend Dennis about being a death coach. I take that title seriously. And if you want to see my chest, you just got to pay money. That's how it works. Flirt with me a little bit, you'll get very far. As my eyes get adjusted to my sunglasses is dark and my reading glasses darkening. But yes, feel free to ask us. Jimmy, how are you doing this morning? Keith's doing good, he says. I think Keith is going to be working on his YouTube channel, growing it and looking at it. Do I like football? Of course, yeah, I like football. I like college way better than professional because I think most professional athletes have become drama queens and big crybabies. And soccer, no, soccer's not a real sport. No, 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 no. I'm an American. Football is where you have a quarterback and a defensive line and an offensive line, and receivers and all that good stuff. Am I into soccer? No, I'm really not. Never have been. Just not my thing. You know, a lot of us in America didn't grow up doing soccer. I know they push it on kids these days. You sure are pretty, David. Woohoo! Thank you. I appreciate that. You like my shirt? You got the shirt on, and this one unbuttons. If you wanna see the boys, which are, I don't know. That analogy didn't quite work, did it, Jimmy? Baseball? Yep, I enjoy baseball. Baseball's good. I like, once again, amateur baseball versus pro, but we like baseball. David loves the Georgia Bulldogs. Not so much. I don't dislike Georgia. Yeah, sure, we can be friends, absolutely. I don't like the Georgia Bulldogs. I actually admire the Georgia Bulldogs. Like the Alabama Tide, I admire them. I just wish we could beat them. Our Arkansas Razorbacks could beat them, but our Razorbacks are never going to beat anybody. So you got to like a team. I like the Miami Hurricanes. A lot of college teams I like. But yeah, Georgia, I don't like them, but I don't, hate them. We can be friends, absolutely. You can just give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel is one of the most important things. So as I get my eyeballs adjusted to the outdoor world here. So good morning, everybody. James says, my name is Maximum. My name is Max. What is the quote from Gladiator? Every time I see the word Max or Mac, is that quote from Gladiator. I am Maximus, the blah 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 blah. I don't know what it is. Oh, my wife's beans has flowers on it. There you go. You're going to be the Max Power guy? All right, good for you, buddy. When you got to title yourself Max, when you got to put a power name in your name, then we know that you're not powerful. There's one thing that we do kind of know. All right, we talked about that. Let me get back over to where we're starting a new chapter. Well, we're ready to move into part 3 of how to enjoy your life and your job. If you're new here, these are books that I read back in the 90s that were popular in the 90s. I'm also bleeding today. See, look, I'm bleeding. Crap, and I don't want flies bugging me. And we take our business learnings from the 90s and we're going to see if we can translate them into how to build a better social media empire. That's my goal. That should be your goal for you. And so we're going through the whole series of Dale Carnegie books. You guys can Google him, look him up if you want. Now, you can interrupt me, ask questions. We can talk about anything else you want to talk about while I do this. So, but this is what we do in the mornings. We wake up, we get adjusted, we feed the damn dog at 6 a.m. because it wakes me up. And then we mill around, we get around, and then sometimes I come outside in the beautiful weather and I read, and I bring you along with me on my journey of reading and studying and understanding. Oh no, dang it. So, we're in part 3 of the book. Ways to win people to your way of thinking, persuasive thinking, a persuasive argument. Did you guys ever learn that in public speaking or debate course class? Sometimes we got to realize before we get into this, we can't win an argument. Like with our wives, women. One, you have to also study if it's even worth getting into an argument, if it's worth studying, if it's worth debating, right? In other words, you got to pick your fight, pick your battle. That's just coming from me before we even get in here. Dale Carnegie said, the most men lack the subtle ability to enter in the citadel of a man's beliefs arm in arm with the owner. It is in his development of the subtle ability that the secret lies if you are to learn how to win people and into the way of your thinking. So basically what he's saying there is it's hard for men to get into the mindset of people. Jimmy's in the house. Dale Earnhardt. Dale who? Earnhardt? I had a buddy that was a big Dale Earnhardt fan, number 3, right? The Intimidator, was he? So, man, he lived and breathed, that old man, that guy. But they're about the same age. So Dale Carnegie, a business person, he's rich. He's probably dead now. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to him. But can men, I guess this question is, do men have the ability to get inside people's thinking so that they can win an argument and be persuasive? And this is something I say all the time is, once you understand the root of things, right? When we understand the root of a need, so we all know why, the root cause of why we need food to sustain life. Now, some of us eat too many donuts, Jimmy, and not enough, healthy things, Jimmy. I'm pointing at myself, not you. So once we get to the root, we have to understand. But let's see what the hell these experts from the 90s, 60s, 50s, 70s, the books were all published in the 80s and the 90s. But this educational concept was developing long before they wrote the books. Let's see. Woohoo! When Theodore Roosevelt was in the White House, he once confessed to all that if he could be right 75% of the time, he would reach the highest measures of his expectations. So Theodore Roosevelt recognized that we can't be right all the time. Yeah, man, I got to lay off the sugar, but I like sugar. I just got to quit eating food, Maybe I could lose more weight if I don't eat any food. But can you be right? I mean, I think that's a great question. How do you measure your own success in business? I agree. What about like a marriage or a girlfriend? I mean, hell, if you're right 20%, 10%, you'd probably consider yourself successful. But in a business environment, it's kind of like that strategy of, 1 out of 100. If in a business environment, my brother is a salesperson, so we talk a lot about this. And I've heard this analogy to where if you go into like a hotel and there's 100 rooms, 100 doors to knock on, what you do is you knock on door number 1. If you get nowhere, you don't leave a note and wait for them to call you back. You go to door number 2. No response, you go to door number 3. You don't waste time where there's not success. And so the 1 out of 100 that you do open will be successful. So if you are successful, well, then I guess there you go. 1 out of 100, maybe. That was the highest rating that one of the most distinguished men of the 20th century could hope for. What about you and me? Hell, I hope I'm right 1 out of 10. If you can be sure of being right only 50% of the time, then you can go down Wall Street and make millions of dollars a day. Absolutely. If you can be sure of being right even 55% of the time, you should be able to tell other people that they are wrong. I like that. Now, that's a good thing that we can dig into. I ditched donuts a long time ago. How the hell did a dozen go? Oh, I don't know. Jimmy, I saw that a while back. Where were we? Oh, Lorelei, my wife, had to take shit to work. She works for a multi-billion-dollar company, but they can't provide effing food. The employees all got to bring something to the dinner. It's a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company, works in the corporate office, and they can't spring for freaking donuts. So they had a thing or something, and she wanted me to get donuts as her contribution. And I went to Daylight's Donuts and I paid like 20 something dollars for 18 and yeah, 18 donuts, something like that. 18, you know, it's crazy, crazy. And they're not even that good, you know, not that good. But I like the concept that if we can be right more than 50% of the time, then maybe we're the expert. I don't know if this is quite what this is saying. And then the other side of that coin is if you can't, and here's the real big thing for us, if you can't be right more than 55% of the time, then you shouldn't be telling anybody anything, right? So if you have a higher percentage of correctness, then you're the authority. If you don't have that, then you're not an authority. You're not an expert. So why are you trying to force your opinion, your ideology, your philosophy, your YouTube channels down other people's throats? You know, because you're less than 50% accurate. Who would want that? And there is a great philosophy into building relationships. And I have a real problem with this because I suck. I have my facial expressions are too easily to be read. John's in the house. John, how are you, my friend? Good morning to you. I am one of these people that you can look at my face and you can immediately tell what the hell I'm thinking. I am not good at hiding my disdain, dislike, or anything about it. I'm just not. I I don't have a poker. My poker face is you're gonna die. That's my poker face, I guess. I know I can't. My regular saying leaving the blackjack table is I need to go reevaluate my decisions in life. I like that one. If you're not successful, do we need to reevaluate our decisions? You know, I was going to ask you and Galactic Gaming because you know he's a big gamer over there in Europe. How do you improve being a poker player? How do you improve upon that? Because either is it all luck or is it truly skill when the cards are random? I don't know. John says, I'm on a break at work. Nice, nice. Well, I'm glad that they let you take a break at work. If I was your boss, I'd probably never let you take a break because that's just the type of guy I am. So do we think we win arguments by insulting people's intelligence? I don't believe we do. I think when we do that, we have no chance of winning the argument. We also immediately let them know that when we assault their intelligence, whether it's by verbally doing it or just looking with disdain or idiocracy or looking to them going, we know that you're dumb as a rock. You know, what in the God's creation are you talking about? A lot of times when we insult somebody's intelligence, we shut their minds down. I don't know if you guys realize this. But to be successful, we got to keep people's minds open, not shut their minds down. So, massive bankroll and then practice. Well, that's what I mean. I understand you got to have money, but I really mean, how do you? Okay, if I'm practicing how to play the violin, you know, I make sure I don't miss the notes, right? I keep my fingers in a certain location. How do you practice being better at poker? That's what I mean. Do you have achievable, measurable things that you can do when you're practicing? Same thing with dating women, you know. So you can equate the same thing to women in life in general. Remember, when you judge people, take their pride away, their self-respect away, it makes them want to strike back at you. That will make them want to strike back, but it will never make them want to change their minds. When we insult people, attack people, it is not a way to win a persuasive argument. because we shut them down, we offend them, and they're not going to be open-minded enough to move on and to listen to your side of the coin. Never begin by announcing, I'm going to prove so-and-so to you. That's a challenge. You never do anything as a challenge. When we challenge people, they shut down. They get offended. They get bulked up, bravado. Challenge me, motherfucker. I'll show you, I'll prove to you that you can't change. And I'm that way. I'm horrible. If you come to tell me, hey, I'm going to prove to you, I'm like, well, kiss my ass. Before you even get it out of your mouth, I'm going, you ain't proving shit to me. So I'm horrible at it. So I know it doesn't work. I'm going to prove so-and-so to you. That's bad. That's tantamount to saying I am smarter than you, which is what it says. I'm going to tell you a thing or two and make you change your mind, bitch. I'm going to make you my bitch. So we can't challenge people. We can't do it if we want to change their minds. How do we equate that to that basic concept of social media? Well, one, we don't, I guess, go on channels and attack them. I mean, I see these other channels attacking one another because they hope to get views, but it's short term and it's not going to last. All right, Jimmy says, the only measurable thing is poker is winning money and losing money. Okay. My favorite poker pro book is Aces on the River by Barry Greenstein. Spend the first half of the book telling you why you should not play poker. I recommend the book. All right, great. And I don't disagree that that's probably a really good recommendation. But, anytime we try to improve upon ourselves, how do we do that? That's, I look at my YouTube channel as a challenge, my TikTok, my social media. How do I improve upon it? Now, apparently I'm not very good at it and I'm not very successful, but I am trying to figure that out. That's why we go through all this process. So I like measurables. Maybe that's coming from being an old educator, right? We like to be able to say, hey, you passed the test, you've learned the information. If you didn't pass, you didn't learn because you didn't study, you didn't do whatever, you didn't practice. And I get your measurable as wins and losses, but how much control, I guess here's a follow-up question to that, Jimmy, is how much control do you have over your wins and losses? That's what I mean. If I'm a fiddle player, I can control how I play a fiddle. I can control that. But if you're in a dynamics like that, you don't really have any control, I don't imagine, right? It's like pulling the slot machines. You have no control. So if you do want to make a persuasive argument, you don't want to announce that you're going to make a persuasive argument. You're not going to announce, here's what I'm going to do. What you do, my recommendation, before I get into this, is the topic comes up, you let the person talk. Now, one of the things I believe in is what I call letting people run out of gas. So you got to let somebody who has their argument that, dogs are really cats. You got to let them, or girls are really boys, whatever the hell it is. The sun is cold. You got to let them run out of gas in their argument. You got to really get them down to their root belief of why the sun is cold and not hot. Over 300 years ago, Galileo said, you cannot teach a man anything, you can only help him to find it within. And this is one thing I've learned, especially about women. Don't ever say anything. Women are the worst, right? You can never win an argument with them. You have to lead that to the water, so the horse to the water. You can't make them drink. You got to make them think that it was them who created water, who created the earth, who put the water in the earth, and who created they who created the thirst for water and the need for water. Then they'll drink the water. Women are the worst. But I do like the concept of Galileo. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him to find it within himself. And I'm really bad about that too, I guess. As Lord Chesterfield said to his son once, be wiser than other people if you can, but do not tell them so. Never announce that you're smarter than the others. I think that's a secret tip, really and truly, to win an argument and to be successful in business and in the world. Don't let people know that you're wiser, smarter than they are. You got to keep them on that pedestal to get what you want. That's where the massive bankroll comes in. You got to have balls to ascend to that level and to learn those skills. Most wannabes never get to that realm. Oh, I believe it. I mean, if you can't afford to, well, if you can't afford to play the game, then don't. If you can't, if you can't afford to lose the money, then don't do it, right? I see where Joe Rogan likes to go to Vegas and gamble and stuff, and he's talked about how he's lost $1 million in poker before, and from listening to somebody like that, and I know there's football coaches apparently from the college that like to gamble and go to Vegas and lose big money, but I find it striking, and maybe it's because Joe Rogan has so much money, that he's shocked by how much money he's lost gambling, but he keeps doing it. He keeps losing. You know what I mean? He keeps losing. So he's not learning anything from his losses except for it stings, I guess. We always love the saying, the only thing that I know is that I do not know nothing. On the scale of things, we are not. We have no clue about life in general. And that's why to win an argument, to build your brand, maybe even playing poker, you got to realize to be wiser than them is to know that you don't know everything about poker. I teach people all the time on here and in life in general. It's like I was telling Keith earlier about his YouTube channel yesterday when he was asking about it. Go look at the other Choo Choo Train websites, YouTube channels, TikTok channels. See what they do that are successful, then bring that into your own world. I try to do that. I do. I try to do that. That's why I now sell topless photos of myself for $50 each. So there you go. Because a lot of people sell photos of themselves, nude photos. I didn't know that, but they're very successful at selling nude photos of themselves. So I decided I would start doing that, and mine started $50 each. When a person makes a statement that you think is wrong, yes, even though that you know it is wrong, we do not want to attack. It is better to begin by saying, well, now, look, I thought otherwise, but I may be wrong. Frequently I am, and if I am, I want to make it right. Let's examine the facts. That's where I talk about getting down to the grassroots, the root cause of this person's belief system. I did this with MJ a while back, I'm like, okay, let's dig deeper. You believe this. Why do you believe this? It's one thing I told MJ about him having problems with his friends on YouTube, that they all get mad because they get in a big old pissing contest because there are a lot of people that are closed-minded and they won't open up and listen to what somebody else has to say. Now, even if I know somebody, look, I've been around the Filipino community, and there's a thing about Filipinos that you guys may not know. They have this unique ability to misunderstand shit like you can't believe. I mean, totally misunderstand something. They hear a little bit of this over here, they hear a little bit of this over here, they put it together and they come up with some weird ass shit. I learned over the years not to argue with them. If I really want to get down the road with it, if it's a battle I want to fight, I will have them try to explain to me in detail why this is. Help me understand, okay, I'm confused. I don't know anything about the subject matters. Right? I always like to say, I don't know anybody about the subject matter. You obviously know more than me, so help me out here. I really want to understand. And you got to do that. You got to disarm people to win an argument because otherwise it's the challenge factor. And then they get their back up and go, no, 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 I'm not telling you shit. You're not listening. So you got to put people on that pedestal a little bit, like they are the subject matter expert, and get them to help you understand that. I think we all understand this. How do you do that in social media? How would we do that? Rick is in the house. Hello, Rick. Good to see you, my friend. How are things in your part of the country this morning? Are you working today? So how do we translate some of this, how to win an argument, into making our YouTube channels better, our social media better? So we're going to get them to get down to the root cause. We're going to humble ourselves as part of what we have to do. And I try to do this. If you guys haven't noticed, who followed me for a long time, I tried to invoke you guys to tell me what you think. I want you guys to explain to me. I don't care if I think you're right or wrong. We had a gentleman last night that was kind of new to the group, and he brought up some negativity about Filipinos, which are fine, but I wanted him to give us more details. Why do you think this? So that we understand. Then we can have a bigger dialogue and go from there. And maybe he's right, maybe I'm right, maybe Rick is right, but we got to have a dialogue and understand. But the smartest thing you can do to win an argument, to make a persuasive argument in your favor, is to listen to the other side. There's magic, positive magic, in such phrases as, I may be wrong. I frequently am. Let's examine the facts. I actually don't like to use those phrases. Tony's in the house. Good to see you. Let's see. Tony Armstrong, the house, the fence, what part of Texas, or could I be wrong? You could be wrong. It does look like Texas because we're very close to Texas. I'll give you 2 more guesses to figure out where we're at. But yeah, here. But thank you for being here, Tony. We appreciate you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. We love having people. I'm assuming you're probably from Texas, since you think we're in Texas. So I don't really I prefer to say, because maybe it's my ego, but I don't want to say, well, I might be wrong, because to me, that's belittling me. I would prefer to say, I would love to learn more about this. Those are more positives. Versus I may be wrong. Wrong is a negative word. I would love to learn more about this topic is positive words. So I still big on positive, 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 positive. Take out the negative words and twist the sentences around to be positive words, and I think you'll get further. Yes, sir. Tony is in Texas. We got family in Texas. We go to Texas a lot, so we're not very far from what you people in Texas call the great state of Texas, but we're not in Texas. But we go there quite a bit. So keep that in mind. Spin it into a positive way. I would love to learn more about this topic, and it seems like you know a lot about it, and you show enthusiasm. Remember, you're doing this to get the person to run out of gas, to get to the root cause of their argument. So then you can discern where their flaws are, if there is flaws. Or you may get to the end of their argument and go, well, shit. Jimmy was right. Holy crap and butt farts. Jimmy was right. So that's what we're going to do. And this book goes on, this chapter, it's going to give us a lot of different examples of this. We don't need to hear about that. You will never get into trouble by admitting that you may not know everything. Except for with your wife. If you're married and you admit you don't know everything, then they're going to use that against you for the rest of your life. Well, you said back in 1938 that you didn't know everything. So yes, in 2026, I still have to correct you. Just putting that out there. But normally, it does good. You know, I watch a lot of interviews of people because I'm fascinated by that, by human behavior. And, you know, brilliant people like Elon Musk, I don't think he could ever admit that he is wrong if he is wrong, because I don't think he is wrong. I think his brain, you know, you could never, you know, you could never change Elon Musk's mind. I don't know what you, I mean, he's brilliant. I've listened to him talk, and I know he has 8 or 10 conversations going on in his head at the same time. So it's very unique, very weird. But most people, you can let them run out of gas and get down to their. Elon's going to take you down a journey that's never going to run out of gas because he has rocket fuel. That will stop all arguments and inspire your opponent to just be as fair, as open, broad minded as you are. I don't know about that one, but it's close. It will make him want to admit he too may be wrong. Positive equals positive. If you show a vulnerability, an openness, a willingness, versus saying, I'm going to explain to you why the moon is made out of cheese, because you're wrong that it's not. When you go on the attack and the opening move of your argument, your persuasive argument, well, you shut it down. It's over. You guys you've lost the argument. Because the person, when I say, Pat, I'm just going to flatly tell you why the moon is made out of cheese, it's an attack on the person. Pat's in the house. Good morning. What's the subject today? Today is our subject matter. We do these morning live streams where I use books from the 90s, business philosophies from the 90s and older, Dale Carnegie series, how to use what we've learned in the past in the business world into a modern day social media world that we're in. And so I'm going back through my history and rereading all of these Dale Carnegie books. And I do it in the mornings, and we have a lively chat, an open chat, open discussion about anything and everything while I go through and do this. And so this morning, particularly this morning, we're on chapter 13 of how to enjoy your life and your job. And we're talking about persuasive arguments at the moment. So we don't want to go on the attack. We want to be receptive. Pat's in the house saying hello, brother. Rick, good to see you. Yes, Rick is here. John's here. John said he was taking a break, Pat. All right. And as we said earlier, we got to decide one, if it was an argument worth having. So the other thing we got to understand, and this is something that I learned as a science educator, is in watching Star Trek, is most people are not logical minded, right? There's a lot of us that look at the logic of things. Is it logical that the sun is cold when I stand outside under the sun and I burn up and turn into rotisserie chicken? Well, logic tells me that it's not cold, right? But we have to understand that a lot of people don't use logic on how they see things and understand things. They just don't. It's not logical to them. Instead, they're already ridden with preconceived notions. So and I said earlier about the Filipinos, a lot of times they hear something, a little bit here, they hear a little bit of this, and then all of a sudden they know, and it's perceived that, you know, Billy Bob Thornton is a plant that grows in your yard. Nah, it's just the way it is. And then they pass the information on, and they spread wrong information. So it's perceived information that they got it from an expert that says the sun is cold. They'll probably hear a little snippet of this video and say, oh, that guy was talking about how the sun is cold. Wow. So they go out and tell everybody, man, the sun is cold. Oh, Dennis is in the house. And Pat saying hello to Dennis. The fire trucks are coming to get me. So we're blighted with preconceived notions, with jealousy, suspicion, fear, envy, or pride. The pride will be the biggest thing that gets in the way of winning an argument. somebody doesn't want to give up their pride and admit that they were wrong. They don't want to admit, oh my God, how could I be wrong? The ego gets in the way. And that's why not attacking their ego, not attacking them, will get you further because you're not hurting their pride. Fire trucks are coming to get me. Tony's asking, which is a great question, by the way, what's the value of peace of mind in your opinion? A peace of mind, in my opinion, is the greatest value ever. How do you achieve it? I don't know. But for me, if I could ever have peace of mind, I would have gained the highest of the highest. I would get the biggest reward that I could ever have by having peace of mind. It's not achievable for me, for whatever reason. Maybe I'm brain damaged. I got some issues, mental health issues, right? It's the highest thing you could ever have. Peace of mind. Peace of mind's the holy grail. I think James is back. YouTube blocked you because the way you typed your words out. So just type normally and you'll be fine. Rick Zillow back. Good to see you. Nice to see you, Rick. So Tony, what do you think? Am I correct? What do you think about your own question? I'd love to hear your side of that. And you got to understand, I talk about, right fighters. Do we want to be right fighters or do we want to be happy? Peace of mind, happiness. So if you're inclined to tell people that they are wrong, please read the following paragraph. All right, we'll do that. It's from the James Harvey Robinson Enlightenment book, The Mind in the Making. I love books. I love to read. So here's a book they recommend, The Mind of Making. I have not read it, so I do not. We sometimes find ourselves changing our minds without any resistance or heavy emotions. But if we are told we are wrong, we will resent the impulse. And we will harden our hearts and close our minds. We are incredibly heedless in the formation of our beliefs, but find ourselves filled with illicit passion for them when anybody proposes to rob us of their companionship. So meaning, basically, we will shut our minds down, our hearts down when somebody challenges us. That's what this big-ass paragraph says in a sentence. See, I could do that. My problem is if I wrote a book, it would probably be 1/4 of this because I would just say, here's what you need to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't have to give somebody 20,000 examples just to fill up pages. But that's another point. So it's obviously that not the ideals themselves are dear to us, but our self-esteem, how we believe, how we see ourselves. Pat says, nice to see you, Brother Rick. Yes, Rick's a good guy up in the lakes, land of the lakes. So everybody wants to be perceived as an expert, as a leader, as right, as the boss, not as a big turd. Everybody has a way that they individually want to be perceived. Women are really bad, our wives about that. Social media is that way. So how do you want to be perceived on social media and how do you want to perceive other people's? How much are you willing to let go? Elon Musk is like a runway where things keep landing and taking off 24/7. Boy, I agree with that. That's a great analogy. And I think you got a great point, Tony. To have peace of mind, you have to let go. But I think it's not easy for people to let go. I mean, you can let go of being offended, being attacked, but there are so many other things that just externally get in the way of the runway that come anyway and take off. Finances, money, people bumping into you. There's all kinds of things out of your control. I am sarcasm. I am very happy for you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. But you're right about Elon Musk, But let's dig a tiny bit deeper into that, Tony. How much are you able not willing, but able to let go. So there's a difference. I'm willing to let go a lot of shit, and I have, man. I have sent drama down the road. I talk about getting things off of your table. I've taken so much stuff off of my tables over the years. I'm not putting up with it. They don't have space in my head. That's pretty easy to do, right? So I'm willing to let a lot of things go on, but the real question is, how do you let things go? Not that you're willing or not willing, but how do you do it? Carl Rogers, a psychologist, wrote on his book called Becoming a Person. We all need to become a person. I found it of enormous value when I can permit myself to understand the other person. Now, this is something that I like this sentence, and I want you guys really to reflect upon this. It's a gigantic value when we can understand the other person. And this is what I mean by getting to the root cause. Why do they think this? Why do they come to your YouTube channel? Why don't they come to your YouTube channel? Why do they not watch your TikToks? Why do they not engage in your live streams? We have to understand our target audience when it comes to social media. So, same psychology here between winning an argument and trying to win in the social media realm. I have found it a great value when I can permit myself to understand the other person. What are the needs of the other person? What's the root cause? Where did you get that information at? Well, look, I have a little funny thing that, many thousand years ago, I had a friend who had a couple little kids, and I helped her with her little kids a lot, right? And you know how little kids, and I'm talking about little kids, and you know how little kids are. They always had a boo-boo or a Band-Aid, and one time we were in the car, and this poor little kid was like, oh my God, my finger's dying, and it got cut off and I'm wounded. I need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. I got you taken care of. I found a piece of plumbing tape in my in my console of my car, my truck. That white Teflon tape. I go, hey, this is way better than anything they got at the hospital. This is way better than Band-Aid. So here, let me get this on you, this Teflon plumber's tape, that white stuff. Wrapped her finger up in it, and I said, you're going to be perfect. That was probably when they were 3 or 4 years old. Well, it wasn't until they were about 12 or 14 years of age when they realized they were still using that. They thought it was still magical. They had a great belief. And so when somebody asked them, well, why in the hell would you think Teflon plumber's tape is good for cuts on your finger? It's like, well, my friend David put that on me in a truck one time and it stopped my bleeding and saved my life. So we got to understand where they're coming from. James is back in the house saying, James, good to see you. Thank you for saying hi. You guys don't be shy. Say hi again. Give us a thumbs up. Super chats are open. We take donations of $1 million or more, or less. It's up to you. The way in which I have worded this statement may seem strange to you. It's not to me. Is it necessary to permit oneself to understand another? I think it is. And I agree with this statement. I think no matter what, you got to understand why the person at Walmart is miserable. If you understand why they're miserable when you go to check out your groceries, you understand that. If we understand why, and we do, we understand why guys go to girl channels. We get that, right? We understand everything. We just got to stop and think about it. Why is somebody having a job? They need money. Why do they need money? Basically to pay bills, right? To live, to survive. Why do we get married? Because we want the companionship, the love, the affection. Rick is saying hello to you, Tony. Good to see you. Tony's down in Texas, the land of Texas. One reaction of most statements is that of judgment of people, of their thoughts and values. We got to make sure that we don't judge anybody in social media. I try really hard not to judge you guys. Do I stand by my principles, my beliefs, my philosophy? Absolutely. But I'm not going to judge you for thinking differently than I am. It's okay with me if you think totally different. And I want you to bring different opinions to our world. Tony, that's the holy grail. You write a million things and keep pulling you back from archiving peace of the mind. Yeah, achieving peace of the mind. And people and family are a big problem. They are. You can work as hard as you can to have peace of mind, to make yourself a perfect little happy world. But one thing we got to realize is we can't prevent people from invading our happy little world and lifestyle. And two, when people see other people are living it, we have this problem. I'll tell you a little bit. I'll diverge a tiny bit. We have people that want to, since they think we're happy, we live in a happy little bubble, a happy little world. People want to invade that and shit all over it. We have that in social media. We have that with trolls in social media. We have people that want to attack and shit all over your happiness because they're miserable. Matt says, loves the shirt. Thank you. It goes with the hat, right? The white hat. I got some, oh, you can't see it. There's some white down here. It is a nice shirt. I like that. I like it too. I think it's like a $15 shirt on Temu. Temu has some of the best places to buy cheap tropical shirts. Temu, believe it or not. These are the same qualities that I paid $60 and $70 for on tropical shirts for $15. Been down there, South Padre Island and Corpus Christi, Texas. Been there several times. I have indeed. I had friends that used to winter in, I forgot the name down there. Dang it. Man, it starts with an H, I think. Shit. It rhymes with another city in Texas, another big city. It rhymes with it, but has a different starting letter. Been there, done that. We took cruises out of Galveston, went over to Padre Island and hung out and did all that stuff. Went deep sea fishing out there. So, know the area, not well, but, been there. Got a brother that lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have the tendency not to open up our minds to understand what others want, need, or what their purpose and goals are. Like we've talked about in the social media, we know what keyboard warriors want and what their goals are. And I think I'm pretty decent at taking them and twisting them around and using them for my own benefit, right? I once employed an interior decorator to make some draperies for my home. When the bill arrived, I was dismayed. A few days later, a friend dropped in and looked at the draperies. Woohoo! The price was mentioned and she exclaimed with a note of triumph, "What? That's awful. I'm afraid he put one over on you." True, yes. She had told the truth, but few people like to listen to the truths that reflect on their judgment. So being human, I try to defend myself. No, we do this. Man, you got ripped off at the car dealership. You got hosed. You could have went, 10 miles down the road and got the same truck for 20,000 less. We've all been there, done that. And we hate to, carpenter comes in, a plumber comes in. It's kind of like when we had the repair things going on here at this house with the leak we had, the plumber company wanted $1,500 to change out a stupid little spigot. Well, I got them way down to $700, but the insurance company still paid it. But we all know that they only spent roughly $100 in parts. Mike is in the house. Good morning to you, Michael. How are you? So true, yes, she had told the truth, but few people like to listen to what the truth really is. That reflects on our judgment. So she was being attacked when you go, what? You got ripped off, man. You got hosed. Oh my God, you got suckered. Those are personal attacks, and you're not going to win an argument or a friend or encourage people to come back to your social media world. So being human, I try to defend myself. I pointed out that the best is eventually isn't the cheapest. That one can't expect to get quality, artistic taste at bargain basement prices. and so on and so on. The next day, another friend dropped by and admired the drapes. Bubbled over with enthusiasm. Oh, what beautiful drapes, and expressed a wish that she could afford such beautiful drapery. My reaction was totally different. Well, to tell the truth, I said, I can't afford them myself. I paid way too much. I am sorry that I ordered them. So he knew that he was wrong, but when you challenge him, you got to put your defenses up. When you're not challenged, you're willing to open up your minds and your heart and listen to what other people have to say and admit that maybe you're wrong or they have a different point of view, a different view of how things are. I think that's a great way to look at it. Everybody say hello to Mike. Mike, good morning to you. Yes, I did. We got the, it was a nightmare. I had to threaten to call the police, file charges against the company for theft, you name it. But yeah, finally got it all done, all completed. I made them wait 3 weeks to approve it from the insurance company to give them their money. Since they made me wait for weeks and weeks and weeks, I told the insurance company not to pay them. And so we dragged that on to be punishment. But yeah, I had to threaten to call the police on Monday. If they didn't get my door back to me on Monday, I was calling the police and filing a theft charge. And I was serious. And so the door showed up on Sunday evening. Thank you for saying hello to each other. When we are wrong, we may admit it to ourselves, but we have a great difficulties admitting to the world that we are wrong. We all do this. I do this. I don't like to admit that I'm wrong because, one, it's shocking to me that I'm wrong. I mean, how in the living hell could somebody who dresses the way I do, right? I mean, look at me. I got a great hat, some cool glasses, a really cool shirt. How can I be wrong about anything? So, men of action. Yeah, no, it really was. I'm a very nice guy. I'm a very patient and understanding guy, but I'm also a very detailed guy. And I had everything in writing, the timelines, the plans, expectations, and I was not happy with it. So when it came to that point when we weren't moving it, going down the road, oh, my AJ's here. Sorry, did I miss AJ? AJ. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I was misreading things. Sorry, MJ. AJ, sorry. My views, your world is here, not Michael. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read between my dark, cool sunglasses yeah, all right. I'm sorry, AJ. Apologies, my friend. Good to see you, AJ. How are you? What things going on in your part of the world? I have. I've been calling you Mike, as in Mike and Venus, because both of your titles are about the same length, and it has M's in it. And just briefly looking at the chat with my bad eyeballs, yeah, it's my bad. We know that you're way better looking than he is. There's our friend Nisha. Nisha, hello, good to see you. Pat says hello to Nisha. You're way better looking and better behaved than MJ. Let's just say that. Sorry, AJ. There you go. I'm a horrible host. Now, this person is saying, let me get here. We have a hard time admitting that we're wrong. And there's a lot of, I was telling Keith, and I don't mean to pick on Keith if he's still here, but he asked yesterday for some advice about his channel. It is, in my channel, it's not great. It is hard for us to say, look, we made mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes on my channel. But, it's hard to admit it. But once we do, then it opens up our self to be better. Rick is saying hello to Nisha. Thank you for doing that. Nisha, how are you doing? What's going on in your world? Everything is good in Angeles City in the Philippines. Nice, nice. Nice. How's your truck? You bought a truck or a car, right? Didn't you buy a vehicle? AJ? So a guy named Horace Greeley, I love the name Horace. I mean, I don't know why anybody doesn't name their kids Horace anymore. I like the name. And I knew a guy named Greeley in high school. He was a dick. But anyway, he was the most famous editor during the Civil War time. He disagreed violently, viciously with Lincoln's policies. He believed that he could force Lincoln into agreeing with him by doing a campaign of argument, ridicule, and abuse. He waged this bitter campaign month after month, year after year. In fact, he wrote a brutal, bitter, sarcastic, and personal attack of President Lincoln the night that he was murdered. That's what's happening in modern day politics, right? We got the Democrats trying to, it's what we do now. But it doesn't work. It's not going to persuade us. If I'm standing around and you're trying to get me to be on your side by attacking MJ or AJ or Pat or Nisha, you're not going to win me over by attacking them personally with vicious. You're just not going to do it. If you can make a persuasive argument, then that helps. That's like, okay, well, maybe AJ's right, Just found out a coworker got, oh no. Oh, I saw that. Was that I saw something about a blurb about that. Was that an older white guy, what was he, a biologist or marine biologist there in the Philippines? Is that the one? Nisha says, I am doing good. Nice. How's your grades? How's school? What's going on in your world, Nisha? Thank you for coming in. So we're not going to win an argument by attacking. We've all figured this out. We all know this. We can't do that. We're not going to be swayed. This is one thing that bothers me about religion. Religion attacks. The Ford Explorer is good. Okay, yep. The codes from the secondhand inspector were sensors needing to be updated, downloaded to them. Yes. Yep, I got that issue going on a little bit with my truck. I got some sensors that need to be updated. I just got to take it to the dealership to do it, which I don't want to do because it costs money. I was happy about the good news. Good news on the Explorer. Tony said, I sat on the pier this morning and saw some dolphins for a minute. My thoughts were empty when I was stationed in Okinawa. I took a vacation and, oh, nice. So you've been to the Philippines. You've been to Okinawa. Excellent. And you've been sitting on the dock of the bay, as Otis Redding would say, right? Sitting on the dock of the bay. I do think water calms you. And one thing I will say this. Environment plays a gigantic role into our mindset. It's one thing I've learned. If the environment is so important, you're sitting on the dock of the bay, so to speak, you can open your mind, relax, and when your mind is open, you're more amenable to what somebody is saying to you. Same thing in a business setting, same thing on social media. That's why some of these channels, travel channels, do so well on social media, because they're taking you through environments that you don't normally get to see. One, they're interesting, but two, a lot of the times it's calming. I try to provide here in my own little world a calming environment. Things that are not going to irritate you behind me. There's one thing I do. I try to be in a setting that is not agitatable. So, environment is key in social media, in basic business. AJ says, no, this is one that happened a few days prior. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay. Happened in broad daylight. 2 guys on a scooter robbed him. He was still active duty on vacation. Oh, that's really bad. We're waiting on a delivery today. Damn, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's really bad. Active duty, man, that's not good. Lily, get out of that hole. Lily, get over here. My dog she's in the doghouse because she has this fixation. There's a mole somewhere under this part of my fence. It's long gone, but she's fixated on trying to dig after this damn mole in this hole. She's making a gigantic hole. And she knows I don't want her digging, so she'll just lay there on top of the hole. hoping it will move. Then that gives her justifications to dig. But my persuasive argument to my dog not to dig a hole in my yard is not working. Well, that is really bad. I mean, AJ, that is effing horrible. And I've heard that story in the past before. We've had expats over there, and I know he was, not an expat, so to speak, but, those are the guys on the scooters. Did they catch them? Did they know anything about them? Environment. Oh, that's where we're going. So I think if you want to grow your channel, you want to grow your platform, you got to have a good environment. There's a lot of, there's a lot of channels out there that I think are lacking growing because it's not pleasant to see. I don't watch channels, it's kind of like food, right? We eat with our eyes. We do social media with our eyes. If it's not pleasant looking, then we don't stick around. There's a lot of channels, a lot of things I see that I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a bunch of trash or garbage or this or that. So I don't watch it. I move on. I go to the ones that go, oh, well, that's a nice looking environment. Look, there's a sky behind you. There's a good looking guy with a shirt and a hat. It seems like a happy environment. When you do social media, I want you to project that, a positive, a happy environment. I told Keith, not picking on Keith, about his channel, a lot of his thumbnails look depressing. So why would anybody want to watch a depressing video? Unless you're a psycho. Haven't seen anything or any updates. The whole thing was caught on Oh my God. But yet they haven't caught the guys, obviously. That's crazy, man. That's really bad. This guy says, hey, maybe you ought to go read Franklin's autobiography, Ben Franklin. I'm not a big fan of Ben Franklin. I think Ben Franklin in history, I think he was a pervert. I think he was a chomo. I think he was a really, really bad human being. He may have been brilliant, but a lot of brilliant people are really bad people, believe it or not. So I don't recommend reading this book, but apparently there's a little story about Ben Franklin. One day, when Ben Franklin was a blundering youth, an old Quaker friend took him aside and lashed him with a few stinging truths. Something like this. Apparently, this is what changed Ben Franklin's, shaped his world for the future. Ben, you are impossible. Your opinions have a slap in them that for everyone who differs from you. So he wants his opinion slap and is aggressive towards anybody who doesn't agree with him. And I know people like that. If you don't agree with me, then you're wrong and you suck. Your opinions have become so offensive that nobody cares for them. And nobody wants to be around you. When you become this way, nobody wants to be around you. Your friends find that they enjoy themselves better when you are not around. So if you find you're being isolated by friends and family or on social media, maybe they don't like your opinion because you're too offensive, you're too aggressive, you're too assertive, and you're unwilling to listen and learn. You're slapping them with your opinions and your thoughts. I think that's something I told Michael, MJ, a while back. Him and I were discussing some of this. MJ, Michael, sometimes does just this. And he's doing better with it. You may know so much that no man can tell you anything. So are you one of those people that you are so smart, so educated, so well balanced in life that nobody can tell you anything? That makes you one of from my perspective, one of the dumbest people on the planet, but also one of the saddest people. When we will not open our hearts and our minds to others, like you guys, is why I do this, because I want to learn from you. I love knowing what's going on in y'all's lives so that we can build upon and learn from it and teach upon it. Like today, we just know one of AJ's friends passed away in the Philippines. violently. There's also another person in the Philippines, expat, who passed away, I think yesterday, if I caught that right. I think he's a marine biologist. I don't know the details of that one, but that's a hostile environment. Indeed, no man is going to try, for the effort would lead only to discomfort and hard work. So you are not likely ever to know more than you already know now, which is very little. So basically, if you're a closed-minded asswipe, you're never going to learn anything because people are going to give up on you. And I see this on a regular basis. When I realize that I can't get anywhere, that you are not going to ever understand anything I say or care about anything anybody else is say, you're so closed-minded that I don't want to be around you. If we can't keep moving forward, if it becomes a hostile situation, nobody wants to be in a hostile situation. You're making a bad environment. So don't do that in social. A lot of people make a bad environment on their social media. We do that in person all the time. We make a bad environment and run people off. People go away because they don't want to be here. Tony says, my wife at 37 went to boot camp. 14 years later, she's a chief in the Navy. Woohoo! She completely started her career over because she wanted a reset. That's great. That's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with resetting. And one thing I tell people, it's also okay to admit that you're wrong, or maybe that it's time for a change, or now, because what we have to understand as humans, our personalities change about every 5 years. 3 to 5 years, we start to evolve and change our philosophies, our beliefs, maybe our religious beliefs, our politics, our financial beliefs. We are always evolving, and smart people will evolve. The dumb ones sit there and stay where they're at, unwilling to open their minds and evolve. I'm a big believer in resetting. We've tried to do that. It didn't work, but I learned some things from it. We're going to try it again here soon. Hopefully it will work this time. My wife's in the process of kind of resetting her career. I never resetted my career because my career was going where I wanted it to go until my heart gave out, and then there you go. Congratulations to you both, my friend. Congratulations. One of those finest things I know about Ben Franklin is the way he accepted the smarting rebuke. So he actually took it to heart and said, okay, look, yes, I'm an asswipe. I won't listen to anybody's opinion. I think I'm right about everything, and everybody else is just wrong on the principle. Well, I guess he took that heart, opened up his mind, but I still think he's a creep and not somebody who should be cherished in American history. Because if you read a whole lot of other books and stories about Ben Franklin, you wouldn't want him around your children. Just saying. Why do you think he spent so much time traveling from one country to the other? After that, Franklin said, I made it a rule. And here, let's see if this works. And made a rule that he would open up his mind and be receptive to what others say before shutting them down. See if we can give an example of this. Some chick named Catherine Allard, king of Kings Mountain, North Carolina, is an industrial engineer supervisor for yarn processing plant. She told one of our classes how she handled a sensitive problem before and after taking their training. So she's going to give us before and after. Part of my responsibility, she reported, deals with setting up and maintaining incentive systems and standards for operations so that they can make more money by producing more yarn. Let me diverge and say I don't like incentive programs. I think incentive programs suck. I come from a behavior-based philosophy in business. I don't like it. I don't like it overall. I think it cheapens things overall. I think you set yourself up for disappointment. We can go deep into that, but we're not. The system we were using had worked fine until we had only 2 or 3 different types of yarn. But recently we had expanded our inventory and capability to ensure us to run more than 12 different priorities. The present system was no longer adequate to pay the operators fairly for the work being performed and was giving them incentive to increase production. So their incentive program wasn't working because now their company's a lot bigger, doing more business. I had worked up a new system. There you go, man. You got to love new systems, which would enable us to pay the operator by the class of yarn she was running at any one particular time. With my new system in hand, I entered the meeting determined to prove to management that my system was the right approach. I told them the detail how we were wrong and showed how they were being unfair and how I had all the answers they needed to productivity problems. To say the least, I failed miserably. At least she admits it later. I had become so busy defending my position, I missed the forest through the trees. I'm paraphrasing. AJ says, that's amazing, Tony. Can only imagine what she went through joining the Navy at that late of age, having more life experience than other people higher ranking than her. Yes, I think that's a great understanding. So you're at 37, you go in and you're going to be kissing ass, or you're going to be answering, responsible to people that are probably, 10 years younger than you? So your commanders are probably younger than you are, but you do work through it and you get to a position where you're happy with it. That shows a lot of maturity and responsibility. I had that same dilemma when I was a teenager working as a cook at a nursing home in the afternoons. In high school, I was, I don't know. They put me on as head cook, which means I ran the kitchen, because I could read, I could write, I could understand, and I would follow directions. And in a nursing home setting, you do what the state tells you to do, not what you want to do. You just follow the damn recipes. You follow the rules. And back then, I was pretty good at that, even though I was a piece of turd. I had women 3 times older than me telling me I was wrong about how the green beans had to be done, how the fried steak had to be done. And I would have to explain to them, being way younger than they were, a lot less experience, no, this is how we do it. So I know from my side of it, it was hard for me to deal with them. But if they would, and I had 1 or 2 that were very humble, very receptive, said, I get it. All right, we just got to do what the state says. And I said, yeah, no problems. Then I got others going, no. But Tony, that is good news, my friend. MJ, AJ, thank you for recognizing that. So the chick admitted she was wrong. How does she improve? On the new system that I had left them no opening to graciously admit their problems on the old system. The issue is that after several sessions of this course, I realized all too well that I had made my mistakes. I called another meeting. At this time, I asked where they felt the problems were. There you go. We discussed each point. I asked for their opinions on which was the best way to proceed. With a few low-key suggestions and prompt intervals, I let them develop my system themselves. At the end of the meeting, when I actually presented my system, they enthusiastically accepted it. So she led them down the road that she wanted to go. She won the argument. Now, her system probably still sucked because it was incentive-based. But she won the argument by getting their feedback. This is how you do it. This is how you build a team, right? The smartest thing you can do if you're trying to do things is get everybody involved. I try to do this on the social media. Everybody is welcome to share it out with each other. You're welcome to grow with each other. You're welcome to post things. You're welcome to reach out to me. If you got things you want to do, like we're going to do the October meetup, right? So we're doing a meetup of people in October. Collaboratively, we collab, we talk back and forth. We can work together. We can meet up. I do not know everything, but you guys do. We have a wealth of knowledge. That's what we have to understand. You guys are a wealth of knowledge to every channel that you go visit, even your own channel. But smart people recognize others can bring assets to you. So she had a plan, and maybe it wasn't a great plan, but when you sit down and collaborate on things and bounce ideas off each other, you can take a base of a plan and grow. It's kind of like your YouTube channel. If you start a YouTube channel, and this is something Pat has done and Keith is working on, sometimes it's good to say, I got a concept for social media. I want to grow a YouTube channel. So here's my foundation. What do I do now? Anybody have any suggestions? Where would I go? It's kind of like, I told Keith last night about his channel. He needs to show happiness in action, clean in action. Like, why would I want to watch? You got to give me a reason to watch or come to your channel. Smart people will do that. They'll go like, look, I would really like to solve, and we did this in behavior-based safety all the time. Growing up in the business world as an OSHA guy and safety guy, the concept of behavior-based safety is this, and I love it. I preach it. I wish I could do it more into my own YouTube, my own social media world. So here's the basics of behavior-based safety. When there's a problem, you ask the people that have the problem how to solve the problem. So if you got a whole bunch of people that are not wearing their safety glasses, for example, well, I can come down and dictate what's going to happen, what should happen, or I can be smart and ask them what the problem is. Why? Are the safety glasses bad? Are they not the right ones? Uncomfortable? Too hot? You get the information from the user. Frontline people, so to speak, will always give you the true answers. Pat likes that. When an argument leads to being arrested, I always wonder what that person's thought are sitting in a jail cell. I watch a lot of those too, and I actually think that too. I think their ego can't let it go until after, I think it takes a couple of hours for your body, your adrenaline. When your adrenaline is up, your ego is not going to relent. Understand that. Adrenaline locks ego into place. I believe this. And one thing I try to do because I got a big ego, is when my adrenaline is fired up, I try to recognize, what am I doing here? Am I getting the goal that I want to get? A lot of people don't stop and say, what is my goal? What is the end? I want the people at the factory to wear their safety glasses. So I can go down there and be a dickhead about it and write you up, threaten to fire you for not doing it, or I can get my ego out of the way and ask you why and get to the root cause of why we have this issue. People don't do that enough. When you're in a domestic situation, YouTube's any situation, business situation, step back and ask yourselves these things. What is my end goal? My end goal is ABC. It's not D and E, right? So that's what you got to keep focused. And if somebody's taking you, trying to drive you to an end result that you don't want, well, you got to kind of step back and let them go on their own road, and then you do what you need to do to succeed. It's great to help others succeed, but you don't want people to succeed at your expense, or you being in the back of the police car in handcuffs. A lot of people like to piss you off just to piss you off. A lot of people want to stir shit up just to stir shit up. We have so many Karens and Darrens in the world, it's unbelievable. And that's on social media too, the keyboard warriors and the trolls. So, great point. A lot of damage can be occurred if you just tell people straight out that they're wrong. I had a boss one time who definitely was probably academically smarter than I was. We got into a deal one time, and he's like, so do you really think you're smarter than me? You know what can you guess what I told him? I sat back in the chair in his office and went, that statement to me, that question to me, asking me if I think I am smarter than you, already tells me that I am. You can't attack people if you want to get in. So being an attack channel, social media, you got to be positive. You got to try to bring people into your fold. So we've learned that. Let's keep booging along here. Find something else. Chapter 14, the high road to reason. Oh my God. As we discussed earlier, you have to decide if you can reason with somebody or not. And they're not, if you can't reason with them, that's why they're sitting in a jail cell, right? Because they're unreasonable. That's why they're put away, because they cannot reason what's going on. If your temper is aroused and you tell them a thing or two, you will have 5 times the unloading of your feelings. But what about the other person? He will share in your pleasure. You will be belligerent tones. Your hostile attitude will make it easy for him to win the argument. I'll give you an example, a little one for myself. I don't know, a long time ago, there's a little fender bender that I was involved in. It wasn't my fault. The people that got out of their car was dicks. So I ripped him a new asshole, went after him. I was more than happy to get into the nice argument with them, right? Man, chew them up and say, yeah, come on, bait them on, do the whole yard. We were back and forth, the whole little group of us. Now, but to win my argument and to prove that I did not cause the accident, when the police got there, I was calm, cool, rational, logic. I let the police do their thing while the other party was still ranting and raving, going crazy, apeshit crazy, and I'm sitting here just going, I told you, officer, it's what I've been dealing with. It makes it easy for other people. It just does. Don't make it easy for other people by being a butthead. When you're trying to win an argument, persuade people to do things, how do we reason with them? Well, we don't attack them. We don't chew them up. If you come to me with your fist doubled, says Woodrow Wilson, who I love as a president, I think I can promise you that mine will double up as fast as yours. But if you come to me and say, let us sit down and take counsel together, chat together, have a talk together, and if we differ from each other, understand that we are different. We can understand why we are different, why we have different opinions. That song by Earth, Wind, and Fire, the reason why we are here or want to disappear, or you want it to disappear. Yeah, there you go. I like Earth, Wind, and Fire. You must be old like me. A lot of times when you have people opposing sides, if you sit down and talk calmly, you'll find that you're really not that far apart on topics, because obviously you're in the same world, right? We're in the same social media world. So we're not that far apart when we disagree with each other about how to do things. We're all trying to maybe achieve a similar goal. So we got a common ground there. So we're not that far apart from one another. We're just not. Now, one thing I did in business and education, because I hate it. We did a lot of project stuff. We did, oh my God, committees after committee. We had committees on committees that studied committees at one point in time. No shit. I got to the point when I did committees and we tried to move, I would admit wrong. I would just say, no, I was wrong. And they're like, no, you didn't have anything to do with it. I know, but look, let's move on. Let's just say David did that. That's David's fault. I'll take credit for it. I'll take blame for it. Now let's move on and come up with a better solution. Because people wanted to debate who was wrong and why they were like, forget it. It didn't work. So let's move on. Just say I was wrong. I admit default. But when we have things, we all have a common goal. Pat and I have a common goal. I think Tony and I have a common goal, AJ and I know we have a common goal. Let's see where we're at on this one. Our points are not that far apart. We all know this when we calm down and listen. It's one of the frustrating things with your wives. You know that you're not very far apart on what needs to happen, but just getting everybody on the same page, so to speak, in a personal relationship can be a nightmare, And you're going to want to build on the points that you agree upon. you know, and build a camaraderie and build a friendship out of those. So you take your base components that everybody agrees upon and you build on it. We all want to do social media. If not, we wouldn't be here. Pat and I want to grow our YouTube channels, right? Keith wants to grow a YouTube channel. Everybody who's here, AJ has a great YouTube channel, by the way, if you haven't checked him out. We all want to do this. We all want to be successful for one reason or another. It doesn't really matter what our reason is, but we all want to be there. We all want to do there. So that's our common goal, our common thread, common cause. We may differ on how we get there. Some of the girls want to show their tits and make a lot of money, and they get it there that way. A lot of the guys want to exploit women in the Philippines or Asia or Thailand or Jamaica, wherever, and that's how they get there. A lot of people will hurt other people in the ability to grow their channels. You know, the trolls that attack people in public or make fun of them, things like that, all of that stuff. So we all get there differently. What my strategy is, I don't know. That's why I'm doing this. I don't know what my strategy for growth is. I don't know what it is yet. But once we know that we got a common ground, we can build upon that. And that's going to be our road to reason and logic. Nobody appreciates the truth of Woodrow Wilson's statement more than John D. Rockefeller backing himself. Rockefeller was the most fiercely despised man in Colorado. I didn't know that. One of the bloodiest strikes in history. Oh, I do remember this. American history has been, where'd it go? Had been shocking the state for 2 terrible years, Colorado. Irate, belligerent miners were demanding higher wages. Damn miners wanting more money. Who would know? Demanding higher wages from the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. Rockefeller controlled that company. Ah, well, there you go. Property had been destroyed. Troops had been called out. Blood had been shed. Strikers had been shot. Their bodies riddled with bullets. So apparently, Rockefeller owned a mining company. The miners wanted better pay. Rockefeller said, "Kiss my ass. We're just going to shoot and kill you instead." That's what I got out of that. At a time like that, with the air seething with hatred, Rockefeller wanted to win the strike to his strikers, to his way of thinking. And he did it. How? And here's the story. After weeks spent making friends, Rockefeller addressed representatives of the strikers, the union leaders, which would probably what it become. Thank you for the smashing the button vote of confidence there, AJ. This speech in its entirety is a masterpiece. It produced an astonishing result. It calmed the tempestuous waves of hate. His speech that he gave calmed the hate. It won him a host of admirers from the other side, presented facts in such a friendly manner. There you go. You got to take the hate out of it. If you're going to win an argument, persuade somebody to do anything, hate is not going to work. The strikers went back to work without saying another word but the increases in wages for which they had fought so violently. The opening of the remarkable speech, note, it glows with friendliness. Rockefeller remembered was talking to men when he knew his audience. I'm reading some of it. So when he gave his speech to the strikers, he tried to understand who his audience really was. And this is something that I learned to do when I was doing public speaking a lot. One, if you get to be invited to public, here's a tip for you. If somebody says, "Hey, we'd really like for you to speak, blah, 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 here or there," my biggest advice for you is to understand who your audience is going to be. Are they going to be coal miners? Are they going to be PhD candidates? Are they going to be military personnel? You better know your target audience. So here's how you started this off, all positive. This is a red letter day for me to get to meet with all of these outstanding, wonderful representatives of the miners. Coal miner's daughter. I was just a coal miner's daughter. So he sucked up to him and said, man, it is my pleasure, my honor to meet you people. I know we've been killing your workers with bullets, but still great to meet you all. Break bread, have some food, make a positive environment, right? You want to lower people's guard. You want to make them to feel at home. Here's something else I tell you that I used to teach when I was doing OSHA consulting work. So if you don't know this, Pat says, shout out and like, yes, thank you, Pat, appreciate that. So if you don't know this, you can refuse OSHA entry into your facility. Let's say you're making, I don't know, brooms. You can tell OSHA they can't come in. It's not wise. It's not advisable because they'll just come back with federal marshals and shut your happy ass down. But you can tell OSHA, no, you can't come in. Don't do it. But what I used to give as a consultant was this. If your safety director's not there, if your plant director's not there, and OSHA shows up the door, and OSHA's not going to be too intrusive right off the bat, you invite them in to the nicest conference room you have. You train your personnel, your front office personnel, to be polite and courteous. Bring them cookies, bring them something to drink, make them comfortable in that environment, and tell them, I'm waiting on the bosses to get here. Don't refuse them at the door. They'll come back with warrants. But you want to disarm. OSHA's coming because there's a complaint filed. They're only showing up because somebody called and said, you know what? My leg got cut off making brooms, and nobody helped me out. OSHA shows up. They want to know what's going on. They're going to do inspection. They're going to do an investigation. If you make it hostile, they're going to be slinging bullets, right? So to speak. But if you make it the environment friendly, it will calm the situation down. Tony says, how do free-thinking people go down that rabbit hole of being brainwashed? I think that's a great question, Tony. Because they're not, I guess there's two sides of this. One, I think the real question is, are they truly free-thinking people? Because I think if they're free-thinking people, maybe they wouldn't go down those rabbit holes of being brainwashed. So are free-thinking people brainwashed easier than people that are not free thinkers? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I understand how people get brainwashed. I see it every day. We don't know it, but we're all brainwashed to a tiny bit. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, you're Baptist, you're into sports, whatever this is. We all have a little bit of that in us. The other example I would use about making a positive environment is something I would teach as a private consultant to these companies is when OSHA's coming around, the inspector, the big man, the government is in your facility and they're walking around your facility checking things out. You better have somebody walking with them taking notes. And I would recommend highly to them all the time. You have somebody there, your maintenance guy, I don't care, your HR director, I don't give a shit who it is. You have somebody there with them, being polite and courteous, not having an effing attitude. So I'm a brainwashed conspiracy theorist. Really? Which is your favorite conspiracy? AJ, which is your favorite conspiracy? I don't know. I guess I have a different point of view about conspiracies. Do I think people conspire? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But do I think it matters? No. Do I think people conspired to kill Kennedy? Sure. Are people conspiring to kill Trump? Sure. Are they conspiring to keep gas prices higher? Absolutely. Are they conspiring to hide Bigfoot from us? Absolutely. But does it really matter? So I'm one of those people. The world is flat. Dennis is back in the house saying, the flat earthers. Where's the Boeing? Ah, yes. 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 Who knows? I guess it's back at Boeing now getting fixed or updated or whatever. I see a lot of Filipinos get brainwashed by other people cheat on their husbands. And I agree. What you're talking about is we do see that a lot. There's a lot of Filipinos get brainwashed by being in America. They get the Americanization, the Westernization. I agree with you. Pat says, good to see you, Dennis. Dennis, where is Elvis? Elvis is apparently a preacher somewhere in America. He's apparently alive. Remember, he's all over the internet. Apparently, he's some kind of preacher. And he's married to one of his ex-girlfriend's wives or some shit. I don't know. But apparently, he's a preacher in Tennessee or somewhere. Or Texas or Alabama. Hell, I don't know where he is. I don't listen to it. And you like that? Super Pat and all from Dennis. Yes, yes. Thank you for being a member, Dennis, by the way. Appreciate all of the members, all the likes we get. So what I would tell people when we did the private consulting work is you go with the OSHA guy, you get the attitude person not there, someone who has a smile. And I got another thing about smiles coming out later. But you write down what they're saying. And if there's what we used to call low-hanging fruit, you get that affixment. If the OSHA guy says, well, look, you know those extension cords are not allowed, you write it down and say, I tell you what, I will have that taken care of within the next hour. You make a call to the maintenance guy and say, hey, maintenance dude, come get all of those extension cords and take them down. I don't give a shit what the reason is, why they're there, what the problem is. You take them down. You do it immediately. You're presenting a positive environment. That OSHA inspector is going to go, woohoo, look at that. They're listening and following what I am doing, right? That's a positive. That disarms the OSHA guy. Let me get caught up here. I know I missed a few chats. Ken is in the house. Good to see you. Hello, late again. Hello, Dennis. Ken, we'll start at the beginning. Nice. Everybody said hello to Ken. Ken, good to have you. We got some new people in the house. Pat says hello, Ken. My Views, Your World. Welcome to the community, friends. Yes, thank you for that, My Views. Appreciate that. He's one of our longtime members and supporters. Hello, Ken. Yes, My Views, Your World. Good morning, AJ. Yes. So, and then you do it. You provided an environment to win your argument, or to, in this case, mediate the damage to your company. And that's what Rockefeller did with the people he was shooting and killing who wanted more money just to buy groceries at his coal mines. So, give them a little bit of food, bring them in, make them puff them up, make them feel special. I had this happen, and it works. I admit, back in the day, I wore many hats at the college. And one of the things I did was I disposed of all the chemical waste at our college. It's one of my jobs. And I found a company called Rhineco out of Little Rock, Arkansas. And I was shopping around for waste disposable companies. And Rhineco, believe it or not, I met him somewhere, and he's like, hey, look, why don't you let us fly you in our private jet down to sea and tour our facility, and then we'll put a bid in on your job and see if we can't do business. So what do? They fly up to Springdale, Arkansas. I get in their private jet, and they treat me like an effing king. I go to their facility. I'm walked around and toured and educated. I'm fed a beautiful lunch spread. Well, guess who got the bid to do our chemical waste? You can probably guess it. They won me over because sucking up to me. Tony, I knew that building I lived. Let me get caught. Did I miss somebody here? Sorry about that. Hello and good morning. Hey, Ken, My Views. Ken says, Tony, I knew that building I lived near where I think it is closed now. They closed down. Everyone was laid off. I'm sorry, I must have missed something. Tony, once I retired from the military. Sorry, Tony, I missed your statement earlier. Let me get caught up on Tony. When I retired from the military, I worked for Sony, not Sonio, in Rancho Bernardo, California, making TVs. OSHA lived there, yes. So you know what I'm talking about. Ken says, I guess he's been there. He worked. Ken, what did you say? I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to get caught up. All right. Everybody was laid. Yeah, we had an electric company here that moved to Mexico, and they laid everybody off and shut everybody down. You know, it's a sad thing. Franklin Electric, we had one here. And I knew the safety people there really, really well. I worked at that retirement community just down the road from there, okay? The credit union was recently closed. Yeah, sounds like it's a part of California that people are abandoning, right? Well, that's how you turn a negative into a positive. We're all human. And what we have to understand when we're trying to make a persuasive argument, we're trying to get social media to grow, when we're trying to get our wives to be nicer, is we got to make a positive environment. Sony moved to Mexico too. Everybody moved to Mexico under Clinton. You know, it was that NAFTA, the fair trade shit, where everybody moved to Mexico. And now everybody has to move back to the United States. Now, I am excited because I know it probably won't ever happen, but just the thought that we may wind up getting rid of federal income tax in lieu of tariffs, I love, because that's the way it should have been all this time, but it's not due to the wars. So we could, if Trump could make that happen, he would be a god in my eyes. Not that I pay very much in taxes because I'm retired, but still. What I think will happen is that won't ever happen. The government's never going to give up our money. Once they got their fingers in our wallets, they're never going to give it up. I don't care who you are. But maybe through the arguments and discussions, the percentage will get dropped. So everybody's moving to Mexico but us. And what, as I said earlier, he knew his target audience. And what he wanted them to know was he understood them. I try to do that when I did consulting work. I would ask the plant manager, can I come and spend some time, since I'm going to come here and work with you and this person and that person and the safety director, I would really like to come and spend some time on the floor working with your frontline people and not doing the work because I didn't want to screw up their company, but I wanted to understand where these people were coming from. Franklin Roosevelt did that after he got done shooting and killing Nazi. So he tried to find a common ground, and I guess he was successful. AJ's government feels entitled to your money in and out. They do, and they're not going to let it go. They're never going to let it go. Understand that. Once the government gets into your pocket, they're never going to let it go at all, ever, period. I don't care how great of a president Trump turns out to be or not to be. I don't care how bad he wants that. That's not going to happen. There's not a freaking Republican in the world that wants that to happen, more or less Democrats. Yes, if you're over 65, you're in the fourth quarter of your life. Should we just say the last quarter? The last portion of your life? You're at your end, your journey's end. You know, maybe it's better. Remember, I'm your death coach. Dennis has anointed me your personal death coach. So I appreciate that, Dennis. It hasn't made me any money yet, but I appreciate the title. So I will be happy to be your end-of-life coach because that's where we're at. So President Lincoln once said, it's an old and true, a drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gal. Now, I don't know what gal is. I'm not old. I think we could just substitute it now for a gallon of vinegar. A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of vinegar. But then the question is, why do you want to catch flies? But we get his point. A little sweetness, a little positivity, a little environment goes a sweet way. That's why, and I'm sorry to say, and I know I say this all the time, but the chicks on the internet that has a really good smile, that's all they knew. They could be dumb as effing rocks. You know, they could have content that's nothing but them picking their nose. But as long as they smile and present a pleasant environment to look at, they will have massive channels, massive followers, right? We all know this. So for us ugly people that don't have that ability, we have to figure out other ways to make a pleasant environment. And my goal is to make the channel a safe place, a pleasant place for everybody to come and talk about and bitch about and complain about anything they want while watching me bitch and complain about anything I want. So that you guys all feel like it's an inclusive environment. That truly is one of my goals. I want to make everybody feel like they're welcome there. Now, I may not agree with your opinions, but I hope you're smart enough to debate that logically, unemotionally, so that we can have some fun with it. Because you can't take social media too serious. People come, when they come on here and attack, you can't take that personal. Don't do it. Let's see what else is going on. And if you guys think differently, let me know, you know. I'm happy to hear what you guys think. Has anybody ever been in an OSHA situation? I should do a live stream just about OSHA. I got videos after video. I mean, I can talk about bullshit with the government and OSHA. More, well, I taught it for years, so I mean, you'd be shocked the stupid shit that's out there. You'd be shocked. I could just tell you a story. I mean, ungodly. Just, but anyway. So with men, if you would want to win a man to your case, first convince him that you are his sincere friend. Now, I have a problem a little bit with this. I think being a fake sincere friend to get your point will come back and bite you in the ass in the end. I think it's wrong. If you can't sincerely be somebody's friend to win you over, and you're just doing it to win your argument or to sell your toaster, then don't try to be sincere about it. Try to be honest about the motivation. You know, John, you know, whoever, it's really good meeting you, man. I enjoy talking to you. But my biggest goal is to sell you this damn toaster. It's not to go fishing with you. You know, it's not to be your buddy at cookouts. I mean, you don't got to say it that way, but you know what I mean. Be honest in your approach. Do you think OSHA will? I think OSHA does save lives. I've worked in, yeah, absolutely. OSHA has saved countless lives. Me, myself, have been involved in that. I'm very proud to say, and I know this is going a little bit down a rabbit hole, but due to my involvement in the Arkansas Department of Labor and federal OSHA in the state of Arkansas, over a course of years, we went from almost 60 people dying in workplace accidents down into the low 20s when I retired in 2015. So absolutely, I'm 1,000%, and I worked hard at it. We put on conferences, we rewrote policies and procedures, recommended guidelines, taught, gave free education out to not only frontline workers, but to managers and supervisors, CEOs and directors. Absolutely. There's one thing I can say, one government agency that I think truly cares about not just the dollars, but about people is OSHA. I'm going to stand up for them. There's a lot of quirkiness with it and a lot of things companies do that will blow your mind. But absolutely, I'm a big believer in it. And I think I was a big part of it. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that we got those numbers from 58, 59 people every year down in the low 20s over about a 6-year, 10-year plan. We got it way down. So, made a lot of positive changes. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'm happy about that. Yeah, I am, Dennis. You know, it's something I worked hard on. You know how it is, Dennis. You've done a lot of project stuff, and when you invest a lot of time and energy and everything you got into things, and I did. I traveled a lot and preached a lot and talked a lot. So yeah, I got a lot of passion for that. Yes, sir. Employees love OSHA. Well, yeah, they do until their plants get shut down. And but OSHA is there for the employees. I used to teach, workers when we would have conferences in front of everybody, in front of CEOs, HR directors. I would tell them in front of these audiences, in front of their own facilities, at their own damn plants. My number one goal here being here today is not what your company has hired me to do. That's not why my number one goal here. My number one goal here is to make sure you get to go home safely, that you get to enjoy the money you made today without being injured, that you can walk, take care of your kids, enjoy your family, and take the money you made here today and have a good life. That's why I'm here. I'm not here because your bosses are paying me a fortune because OSHA's kicking their ass. I am here to tell you, I want you to go home safe. I want you to go home at the end of the day. So fired up is good. You like that, Dennis? Yeah. So that was one of my big deals, you know, because I would have companies say, no, we want you to do that. We don't want you to do that. I'm like, no, 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 no. If you're going to hire me, you're not telling me what to do. You're going to tell me your problem, and I'm going to give you my solution to the problem. If you don't like it, then don't hire me. Now, here you go. Tony says, and I did use that a little bit, different words. You get to go home at night and make love to your wife or girlfriend. Well, and I would use that in closed door groups, you know, with construction workers really like that one. When I would talk to a group of construction workers without their project manager there or the general contractor there, I would say, look, guys, you know, the goal is for you guys to make as much money as you can, then get to go home and have sex with whoever the hell you want to have it with. And drink that stinking ass cheap Budweiser beer I know you're drinking, you know, instead of that good Heineken. And they would just laugh and have a good time. But I got them. I got them hooked. And then they would do anything I needed them to do. Because they knew all I gave a shit about was what they cared about. Or your boyfriend, well, there you go. Yeah, or your dog, I guess, you know. I guess there's some girl in Florida got arrested for having carnal relations with her dog a while back, which was kind of disturbing. Online, on her social media platform. Apparently that was going to be her stick on social media. And she posted things on social media about her and her Fido, you know. We all know that. Being a little sweet is a good thing. You know, that's what Filipino, and I need to make a video, and Pat and I worked on this a little bit, unknownly to Pat, but Pat and I worked on this concept the other day. I have finally figured out why Filipino women are so good at hooking men. I have finally figured it out, Dennis, and I'm not telling you today because I'm working on it, but I wrote notes on it the other day. I finally figured out why Filipino women are so successful at hooking men. I got it down. I figured it out. I had an epiphany the other day, thanks to Pat. Business executives learn that it pays to be friendly to strikers. For example, well, actually, sometimes that just pisses the strikers off. You got to understand, when somebody's hating on you and you're trying to love them back, usually, sometimes you got to give them a little bit of room and put the softness in it a little bit of time. You don't want to come up and hug somebody who's trying to stab you with a knife. You know, just keep that in mind. Ken says, need your thoughts privately on an email I got last night. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Here in a little bit, I'll be, you know, absolutely, Ken. Absolutely. Happy to do it. So just keep that in mind. If somebody's trying to stab you, they don't need a hug. So I don't know about, you know, I think when you got agitated workers, the key is to treat them as humans. I think that's the big key. You understand that they're humans. Let's see what this one says. For example, when 2,500 employees of the white, and this is really old stories, they need to renew these books and put modern stories in here versus things that happened in 1920. A White Motor Company plant struck for higher wages, a union shop. Robert F. Black, the president of the company, didn't lose his temper and condemned and threatened the talk of tyranny and communism, really old stories. He actually praised the strikers, there you go, that's one way to do it. And he published an advertisement in the Cleveland paper complimenting them on the peaceful way in which, I'm going to tell you what he did here. The peaceful way in which they laid down their tools. Finding the strike pickets idle, he thought he bought a couple of them a dozen baseball bats and gloves and handed them to play ball in vacant lots, for which you preferred bowling, rented a bowling alley. Now, here we go. A Houston guy fell 100 feet in a hole that they were investigating. If he was pushed, rest in peace, they say he was in an argument. Oh, well, yeah. Now, that's murder, obvious, workplace or not. I didn't see that, Tony. I didn't see that. Ken, wow, it is sad. So what this guy did is took people that were pissed off and said, look, you know, I'm with you. Yes, I own the company, but man, I understand and I'm with you. I'm on your side. You know, it's kind of what this guy did. He's psychology, you know. He praised them for how peaceful they were, which kept them from becoming violent. You get the point there? You praise a group of people that may get agitated on how well they, and you do this with individuals easily. You walk up into a scene and people are arguing and fighting, you can easily point somebody out who's not super agitated and say, man, I really appreciate you helping to keep things calm, to de-escalating things. It's one thing police officers suck at, you know, de-escalation. They want to be the bully with the badge. But if they would take this concept of getting others the power to de-escalate, shit would calm down a lot cooler, a lot calmer. So you put your hand on somebody and say, Joe Bob, man, thank you so much for helping us, you know, calm this down. We appreciate you. We appreciate you not killing the other guy, you know, because he was drunk on a boat and almost ran you over on your jet ski. We appreciate you doing those things. So that's the psychology behind this. And then to keep these strikers from damaging his facilities, he gave them baseball bats and gloves to go play baseball out in the field while they were striking. Hello? You can't beat that. Will OSHA get in? Well, they will. What they will do is this. If it's on a job site, OSHA will have to get involved. Anytime there's a reportable, and a death is a recordable and reportable. So yes, they will come and investigate. If it looks like it's going to be criminal, then they turn it over to law enforcement. Because if it's a criminal act, that absolves the company of any wrongdoing. So the company's not at fault. If, let's say you got somebody going down into a confined space on a tripod, on a pyramid harness, right, and they're going down there, and somebody cuts the line and they fall down and die, well, that's murder, right? But if it snaps without somebody cutting it, or unthreads, or unphrase, or phrase, or whatever you want to say, and it snaps, then that's a company fault. But if somebody does the damage intentionally to the equipment, then that's a criminal act. So absolutely, they'll get involved, study it, then go from there. Happens all the time, more times than you know. Oh, here's something about Daniel Webster. Does anybody know who Daniel Webster is? I didn't know this. Let's read about Daniel Webster a second. Daniel Webster, who looked like a god, apparently. He must have looked kind of like me, but with longer hair. And talked like Jehovah, was one of the most successful advocates who ever pleaded a case. Yet he unrehearsed in his most powerful arguments with such friendly remarks. It will be for the jury to consider. This, I guess he was a lawyer. I didn't know that. See, we do learn something. It will be for the jury to consider. This may perhaps be worth thinking of. Here are some facts that you will not lose sight of. You, what was that, a bird? With your knowledge of human nature, you will easily see and understand these facts. So he blew them up and said, look, juror, we know how wise and bright you are, how much you understand human nature, and I know that you guys will understand why my client, you know, cut the guy's eyeballs out and fed him to the cat. I know you guys will understand why this happened. Why Rockefeller shot down 200 of his coal miners and then fed the bosses lunch. You know, you will understand. Well, there you go. Here's a different type of example. O.L. Stubbard, an engineer, wanted to get his rent reduced, and he knew his landlord was a hard ass. I wrote him, Mr. Hardass said in a speech before the class, notifying him that I was vacating my apartment as soon as my lease has expired. The truth was, I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay if I could get my rent reduced. Well, you should have just said that. But the situation seemed hopeless because my landlord was a hard ass. The other tenants had tried and failed to get their rent reduced, Everyone told me that the landlords are extremely difficult to deal with, but I said to myself, I am studying a course on how to deal with difficult people. But I said to myself, I am studying a course how to deal with difficult people, so I will try it on him and see if it works. Let's see if it did. He and his secretary came to see me as soon as they got my letter, notifying that I was leaving when the lease was up. I met him at the door with a friendly greeting. Hi, hello, Mr. Asshole. How are you today? I fairly bubbled with goodwill and enthusiasm. Come on in. You need a drink? Have a Coke. Here, go, smoke some dope and chill out, whatever it may be. I begin fairly good with bubble enthusiasm. I didn't begin with talking about how high the rent was. I began talking about how much I liked the apartment house. Nice. Believe me, I was heartily in a prohibition and lavish with praise. So the guy sucked up to him and said, man, I really love this place. It's a great facility. You guys take great care of it, blah, 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 blah. I complimented him how he ran the building and told him I should like so much to stay for another year, but I just can't afford it. So he basically said, look, dude, man, you're the cat's meow. You're the greatest thing. I love this building. It's fantastic. You're fantastic. And because of you, the building's fantastic. And it's a great place to be. But sadly, I hate to say it, but it's just not in my budget anymore. I don't want to leave, but I just wanted to give you plenty of notice that as much as I love it here and I appreciate you, I got to go somewhere else. I got to find cheaper accommodations. That's what he did. He had evidently never had such of a nice reception from a tenant. Meaning, come on in. You need anything? Have a seat, man. And he hardly knew what to make of it. Then he started to tell me his troubles. There you go. And I've had this happen. When you disarm, they will open up and tell you about their troubles. When you know their troubles, their root cause, you can get what you want. Sorry, I got called away. Hello, everybody. Jimmy is back. Jimmy, man, Jimmy, you missed it. We had a bunch of naked girls come through here a minute ago. You missed them. They were looking for you, too. They said, where's that Jimmy guy at? And they were, yeah, but you missed it. So then he started to tell me his trouble. Complaining tenants. One had written him 14 letters, some of them positively insulting. Attack. Doesn't work to get what you want. That's part of the problem with policing in America. They want to attack before listen. Another threatened to break his lease unless the landlord kept the man on the floor above him from snoring. I'm going to break my lease because you can't keep the dude above me, which none of us have any control over, from snoring. I wonder what he did when his lady friends was over. What a relief it is, he said, to have a satisfied tenant like you. And then, without even asking him to do it, he offered to reduce my rent a little so that I could stay. I wanted more, so I named a figure I could afford to pay. He accepted without a word. He said, so, hey, man, I really appreciate how you treat me because everybody else in the building treats me like shit. They give me hell about everything. I mean, it's a nightmare being the landlord here. So it's just so unique that somebody would be nice to me, meet me on their own terms, and talk to me, listen to me. And I'm going to give you 10% off rent. And the guy came back and said, well, I need 20%. If we could do 20%, I'm here. Now, the landlord agreed. Wholeheartedly said, absolutely. Pat and Jimmy saying, hello, I know, well, they were here, Jimmy. I'm just telling you. I told them you were down in Georgia where the Bulldogs were. And then they got upset. They was, oh, man, we like Alabama better than Georgia. So I don't know if they're coming to your house or not, but I tried to send them. But if I had tried to get the rent reduced by methods the Buttertons were using, I am positive it would not have worked. And it didn't work. And the other thing that he could have done, the good renter, the smart renter, would have said, one thing I can also do is make sure, and this is a great strategy for you guys to understand. Listen to this. So the landlord already agreed to drop the rent so the good renter could stay there. he wanted to say. He could have followed up and said, you know, I really do like this place, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. So what I'm going to try to do with the other tenants is to help present such of a positivity culture for you, with you, in this building. So let's see if we can't build a culture of positivity versus negativity in this building, as, you know, to help the landlord out. That will go crazily far in life. On our social media, we're building a culture of positivity is what we're doing. You know, I'm positive that the women that came by looking for Jimmy had all of their clothes off. But I'm also positive they didn't like the state of Georgia, the Bulldogs. So there you go. It's okay to build a culture of positivity, to give somebody, your adversary, when you get down to the basics and you find out the roots and you find out that you have a common denominator together, it's okay to build upon that a positive environment, a positive culture. Pat likes the thing about the naked girls, not about positivity or culture. He just likes the thoughts of the naked girls. I know Pat. All right. Let's see if we got any other interesting. Usually at the end of each. So remember always, let me regurgitate something. Remember, when you're trying to persuade, win an argument, finding that road to reason, you got to keep your end goal in mind. What is your goal? And we're going to recap this real quick. So what is your goal? You got to know that. If you don't have a goal, then you can't ever achieve it. Without a goal, you don't have a plan. You don't have an action plan. You don't have a road. You have nothing without a goal. What is your goal? Now let's work on it. And remember, and I think this is, my helicopter's coming to get me. It's going to land on top of I always hate it when the helicopter lands on the house. The shingles go everywhere. And now I got to build a helipad made out of granite and black granite with a big eagle on it, so that my new how you pronounce that? The new helicopter, when it comes to get me, it's not going to land on my house. It's going to land on my yard on my new thingy, my new helipad. Awesome show, my friend. I'm going to get some lunch. Good. All right. Enjoy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Yeah, we're always on in the mornings and in the evenings, and we do a lot of videos and shorts. So, but how do we accomplish our goal? One, we got to know what it is. Two, we have to kind of know who's in the way. Three, or the obstacles are in the way. And then we can use a touch of honey, the common grounds, and build a culture, foster a culture, right? And that's what we're going to do to get our goal. So that's what we're going to try to do in social media platforms, or at least that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know if it's working, but I hope all of you guys will do the same. We'll do that. All right. So that's enough of our book. We got 2 more chapters. We'll do that another day. And then we get to move on to a new book, which is exciting for me. So time to have a tea. Everybody say, Tony, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've been on here long enough this morning. I don't want to drive you crazy for you. That's how you got to take the clothes off. Honey, no. They took their clothes off because I promised them that you would give them money. Not honey, but money. You know, just go on YouTube. If you want the girls to take their clothes off, just offer them the money. They will send you pictures. I'm doing that now. Look, $50 a picture. You want to see me naked, just send me $50. You'll get pictures. I lowered my price. So it's only $50 a picture now. So thanks for coming out, everybody. We appreciate you guys. It's time to get off of here for the day. And if you guys need anything, as always, reach out to me and we'll touch base on things. But we do appreciate you guys. It's a beautiful day in my part of the world. So you guys, everybody go have some lunch or breakfast or whatever you want. And say goodbye to each other. We appreciate you guys. Pat, everybody else in the chat, good to have you. See you guys.